Hi, everybody. So for lesson number 6, one of the main things we're going to talk about is scale. When we say scale, what we're talking about is the relationship between the size of the image and the size of the actual part. So how big something is in real life compared to how big it is in your drawing. Since it would be impractical to create full-size drawings for large objects, they're reduced to a manageable size or scale so they can be studied. So this is an example of a building reduced in size to fit on drawing paper. There are 3 types of scale factors. A reduced scale, so when you take something big and make it small. An enlarged scale, where you take something small and make it big so you can see all of the details of it. And full scale, or 1-to-1, where it's drawn to its true size. There are special tools called scales, and a scale is a specialized ruler used in making or measuring from reduced scale drawings, such as blueprints and floor plans. And it's marked with a range of calibrated scales or ratios. There's different kinds, and in lesson number 6, we'll be looking at the metric scale and the architect's scale. Scales can be either imperial or metric, so we might have millimeters or we could have feet and inches. Whichever one you choose, though, you have to use it for all your dimensions that you're measuring. One important thing to remember are that drawings are measured with a scale as an absolute last resort. If scaled dimensions and written dimensions are different, always use the actual written dimension on your drawing. The choice of scale that the drafter chooses depends on 2 things. So how big the object is that's going to be drawn, and the amount of detail that's going to be shown. So on the right, we have a section cut that's drawn at 3/4 of an inch equals 1 foot. And on the left, we have a section cut that's 1 1/2 inches equals 1 foot. And we can see that in the one on the left, you can get much more detail. The scale of the drawing should always be written in the title block. If it's not in the title block, then it should be located in the label directly under the views of the drawing. Sometimes drawings can have different scales on one sheet, so always check your drawing labels for the true scales. If you see the abbreviation NTS, that just means that it hasn't been drawn to any specific scale. When we look at the architect's scale, we're going to use ratios of inches to a foot. So we're going to take our inch that is made up of 1/16, and we'll be working with feet. The most common architect's scale that you're going to see for floor plans and elevations usually is going to be 1/4 inch is equal to 1 foot. So that means that a line that's 1/4 inch long on your drawing, if you measured it with a regular measuring tape or ruler, if that line is 1/4 inch long, then it actually represents 1 foot of, say for instance, the building. Using this same scale of 1/4 inch equals a foot, a line that's 1 1/2 inches long would represent 6 feet, because 1 1/2 inches contains 6/4 inches. And remember that each 1/4 inch is a foot. Metric scale ratios use the same units in both ratio terms. For example, the standard metric scale ratio that corresponds to approximately 1/4 inch equals 1 foot is usually drawn scale 1:50. This means that the object is 50 times as large as the drawing, so that 50 millimeters of the object is represented by 1 millimeter on the drawing. So if you had 30 millimeters on the drawing, it would represent 50 by 30 millimeters, or 1500 millimeters, 1.5 meters of the object. And we'll look at these more as we do our practice exercises. Here's a list of preferred scales for building drawing sets. So site plans, sketch plans, general location drawings, construction details. So we can see they go from the largest, 1 to 500, down to the smallest, 1 to 1. So these ones at the bottom, 1 to 1, full size, you see more detail as compared to the smaller scales in the site plans. So this is a list of the architect's scale we will be looking at. The column in the middle, gradations, those are the actual scale markings on the ruler itself. So there's for instance, a 12-inch, a 3-inch, a 1.5 inch, 1 inch, 3/4 inch, and so on and so forth. And these are all located on one actual architectural ruler, and we'll learn how to use those. So that brings us to the end of our introduction of what scale is. For lesson number 6, I've included ILM booklets for you to work out of and worksheets. There's videos that we've prepared about how to use your rulers, both metric and architectural, and there'll be an interactive online exercise you'll carry out as well. Okay, so let's get started on our lesson.